Hello everyone, Bhavya this side from JNtech Networks. So today we are going to see today is the day one of Python. Okay, this is the first session in Python in English. Okay, so today we are going to discuss the intro part of Python, introduction of Python, like what is Python, who can do the Python course, like types of Python, where we can use Python, like how to use Python, the softwares that we are going to install with Python. So in this session, we will see the intro part as well as the prerequisites, like who can do Python. Basically, Python is for anyone, like anyone can enroll in this Python. Okay, Python, we have two types of Python. First, we have core and then we have advanced. Okay, in this core, we have the basics part. Okay, we get in the core, we have the basic part the fundamentals of Python, variables, data types, conditionals, control flow, and the if else statements, loops, functions, modules and packages, file operations, as well as classes and objects, like the little part of OOPS concept inside core. So this will cover the basics part. And in the advanced Python, we have the advanced libraries, like we have the networking libraries, we have the GUI libraries like Kinder and Turtle. We have the OOPS concept, which is very important in Python. And then we have the CGI decorators and generators, etc. So in the advanced Python, we will mostly cover the libraries and the frameworks we can use with the Python as well as the projects. Okay, so the Python is divided into two parts, like the core and the advanced. Okay, so we will see the core first and then we will move with the advanced. So, what is Python and who can do Python? Basically, Python is for anyone. Anyone can enroll in the Python core. Okay, but for the advanced, you need to have the knowledge about the core Python. Okay, so anyone can do this, and let me tell you, it is not necessary to do like C, C++, any sort of programming before learning Python. You just have you just know the basic knowledge of that system, and that is enough. Okay, like how to operate the system, how to download things, etc. Okay, so anyone can do Python. Okay, so there are no prerequisites, like you just start Python learning. Okay, then. So what is Python basically? Python is a programming language. Okay, so Python is a programming language. That's it. Now let's discuss the features of Python. Basically, we say that Python is an open source. Okay, why Python is open source and what is the means of open source here? See, we have three types of softwares like open source, we have freeware, and then we have paid. Open source means we can use it for free first, and second, we can modify the source code of Python. Okay, like we can contribute to the source code of Python. So that is why Python is an open source, and that is why Python is so flexible. Okay, so Python is an open source programming language. Then Python is easy to use and easy to understand. Now Python is easy because Python is written in high level language. Basically, we have three types of languages like high level, low level, and mid level. High level, low level, mid level, and then low level. High level means which is close to human language. Okay, mid level is not so close to human language or not so close to machine language. And low level is like it is close to machine language. And the machine can only understand binaries. So low level, we have assembly, as a low level programming language. And in the high level, we have Python because Python is like close to human language. Like Python is written in English. When you see the code of Python, we have print. Let's say we have print hello world. Okay, so this is a Python function print. Now print is used to print something. Okay, so a user or a non-technical person can easily understand. Okay, print is a function that is used to print something or to display something. So that is why Python is easy to understand and easy to use because Python is a high level programming language. So we have one more point. Python is a high level programming language. Okay, so Python is open source, means we can use it for free as well as we can contribute to the source code of Python. So we have open source, we have freeware, and we have paid. Open source software is like we can use it for free as well as we can contribute. Freeware is like we can only use for free, but we cannot contribute to the source code or we cannot modify the source code of the program. And paid is like paid, you have to pay for the for its services. Okay. Next, Python is a general purpose. Okay, so why Python is a general purpose? Because Python can be used everywhere. Like we can use Python anywhere in every domain, basically. So suppose we have a website. Let me write a domains here. We have web development. We have machine learning. We have data science. We have automation, networking, security, and application development, etc. So Python can be used anywhere. Okay, like Python can be used with web development. Like you can learn the basics of Python and then you can move for Django. Django is a Python framework. Okay, so if you want to do Python with web, like web with Python, then you can go for Django. If you want to learn Python with ML, then you can go for like libraries of ML. Okay, like TensorFlow, Keras, etc. And for data science, you can go for Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, C1, etc. For the automation, you can go for Selenium, okay, or PyAuto GUI. And for the networking, you can go for like there are many libraries like Request, etc. For the security, like you can use Python for security. In like you can create malwares, you can create tools out of it. Okay, so you can use different libraries inside security. In the app development, you can use like multiple libraries, and you can even use for GUI, okay, graphical user interface. Then you can use Printer and Tutor. Okay, so basically Python is a general purpose because Python can be used everywhere, like in every domain, blockchain, okay, and like AI, NL, or like machine, like neural networks, deep learning, etc. So you can use Python everywhere. That is why Python is in trend. So Python is a general purpose. And now the question arises, why Python is a general purpose? Okay, so why Python is a general purpose? And why we can use Python everywhere? Because it is open source. Because it is an open source programming language. Now, what is the open source? Because you can modify or contribute to its source code. So that is why the most developers come and contribute to the Python frameworks and libraries. That is why Python is a general purpose. So we have libraries and frameworks. Okay, like we have many libraries and many frameworks, and Python is an open source. That is why we have many libraries and frameworks. So like most of the developers come and contribute to the source code of Python. That is why it is a general purpose because of its libraries and frameworks. Like Python has vast amount of libraries, frameworks, and modules, etc. Okay, so that is why we can say that because of all these features, we can say that Python, hence Python is a powerful language. Okay, so these are the features of Python. It is a high level. Okay, it is an open source. It is easy to understand and easy to use. And then it is a general purpose and it is powerful language. Now, one point is Python is dynamic in nature. Okay. Now, what is the means of dynamic here? Is suppose if you ever learn that C language, then you can understand this example. Suppose there is a C or C++ code. Okay, you are writing a code in the C or C++ language. Then in the C and C++, you have to code first. You are writing a code, and then you compile it, and then you run this. But in Python, there's no compilation process. You code and then you run. Okay, so that is why Python is dynamic in nature. Like first in the C or C++, you have to code it, you have to compile it, and then you have to run it. But in Python, you just code and run it. There's no compilation process. Means first you have to create a .c file, then you have to compile this, and then you have to run .exe file. This is a whole a long process. Okay, but Python is very flexible in nature. Okay, so we can call here Python is flexible in nature, not dynamic. Because in this you can code and then you can run it. Now Python is dynamic in nature. Okay, so why Python is dynamic in nature? Because see, in the C or C++, when you are assigning a variable, suppose A is a variable is equal to 10. Okay, A is a variable and you are assigning 10 value to a variable A. Okay, so in the C++, you have to define that you have to tell a variable that what kind of value you are storing. For example, you have to tell the C or C++ interpreter that I am storing an int value, like integer, it is a number that we will discuss later. So in the C or C++, you have to tell a C or C interpreter that I am storing this type of value, and the value is 10. Okay, so here you have to just define the value you are storing, type of value you are storing. But in the Python, you just define anything. Like you can define anything, like you can define numbers, integers, floats, complex or strings. So here you don't need to define, or you don't need to tell to variable that what kind of value you are storing. Just create a variable is equal sign and then your value. So we are assigning 10 value to A. But in C or C++, this is a whole a long process. First, you have to define it. Suppose this is a float value, then you have to write float here. Okay. So we are just storing the float value. So you have to define, or you have to tell a variable that this type of value I am storing. This is C or C++ code. But in Python, there's no barrier. You can just use the variable, name your variable, and then write whatever you want, or whatever value you want to store. So that is why we say that Python is a dynamic in nature. Okay, so these are the features of Python. Can write here. Okay, so these are the features of Python. Now, Python 2 versus Python 3. Basically, you have heard about Python 2 also. Okay, so now we are running the Python 3.11 version, 3.10 around. But previously we have Python 2. Now Python 2 is not in no more use. So, but what is the difference in Python 2 or Python 3? So they are just a syntax difference. Like suppose in Python 2, you write Python, you write print space hello world. This is the code of Python 2 to write print or to print something. Python 3, you write print hello world. In this, we are using the parenthesis, that is the round brackets here. Okay, so this is a difference. And we have like many differences, many syntax difference. In the Python 2, you use raw input, but in Python 3, you use input. Simple. In the Python 2, you use range, X range. In Python 3, we use range. Simple. Okay, so there's a like some syntax difference as well as some libraries are modified, and maybe some libraries that are not in Python 2 we are using in Python 3. Or maybe some are the libraries which are in the Python 2 we cannot use in Python 3. So this is just a like minor difference. Basically, Python 3 is better than Python 2. Okay. So this is just a minor difference. Like the syntax, we have like many more like differences. Okay. Now let's see the history of Python. Who invented Python? So basically, Python was invented by. Okay, so Python was invented by Gideon Russell in 1991 at CWI Netherlands. Okay, so Python, the inventor, the developer of Python was Gideon Russell, and he developed in 1991. So, like he just launched Python 2 first, and then the developers all over the world update the Python 2 to Python 3. Okay, so the inventor of like Python is Gideon. No. Why Python is called Python only? Like why Python is called Python, not the other name? Okay, because like Python names derived from a like comedy show that is. Okay, so this is the favorite. This was the favorite circus show of the inventor. So he just named. Oh, I just forget Python. Python. Monty's Python Flying Circus Show. Okay, so from here we have the name Python. So he just picked the Python from its favorite comedy show. Okay, so we can put it is a comedy show. Basically. So that is why we call Python like Python. Okay. Now why we learn Python? Why it is important to learn Python? Like you can do anything. It is not important. But Python is in like a trend. And if you want to start your career in IT, so Python is the right choice. As well as Python can be used everywhere. We have many features. First, it is easy to use and understand. Second, it is an interpreted language where you don't need to compile anything. You just write the code and you just run. Okay. It is an object-oriented programming language. Oops. Then we have the open source. It is open source. Then we have the vast amount of standard libraries and frameworks. Then it is a GUI programming support. You can like create GUI apps or applications or the programs out of the Python with the help of Kinter or Turtle. You can even create animations. Okay. It has a dynamic memory allocation and it is like wide range of libraries. So we have like many reasons to learn Python. Okay. And rest is your choice. No. Where is Python used? As I said, Python can be used everywhere. Like it is used in data science, data mining, desktop applications, console based applications, software development, okay, artificial intelligence, neural networks, deep learning, machine learning, web applications, enterprise applications, or etc. Like we have like computer visions, blockchain, etc. We can use Python everywhere. That is why Python is in trend and it is very powerful language because it has like many libraries and frameworks. Okay, so let me tell you famous Python popular libraries. Okay, so first we have Django for the web development. If you want to learn the website development with Python, then you can go for Django. Okay, after learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, JS, you can go for Django. Then we have for the ML or for the DS, we have the pandas, we have the NumPy, we have the matplotlib, we have the Seaborn and ScrapPy, okay, etc. Then for the GUI, we have the printer and we have the turtle. For the automation, we have Selenium. It is a very powerful language, like very powerful library. Okay, and we have the Pi Auto GUI. It is also too good. Okay, so we have like many libraries. So like there are many like more TensorFlow. We have Keras, we have PyTorch, we have PyGTK, and PyJS, Scikit-learn, etc. So we have many libraries and frameworks of Python. So it's totally depends on your career, like what you will choose with Python. See, if you want to become a web developer, then you can go for Django with Python. If you want to go for ML or DS, you can go for these libraries. If you want to go for GUI with Python, then you can go for these libraries. And if you want to go for automation with Python, then you can go for Selenium or PyAuto GUI. If you want to go for networking, you can like learn socket programming as well as request modules, etc. So it totally depends on your career what you will choose with Python. Python basically is a programming where you can use it anywhere. Okay, so this will a plus point if you learn programming like Python as a in your career. Okay, so after learning the basics of Python, yeah, the basics, yeah. After learning the basics of Python, you can go for advanced. Okay, in the advanced, we have the libraries and we have the frameworks. So you have to choose which libraries you suit best for your career, for your field. Suppose you want to go for web, then you can go for Django. So basically, after learning the basics of Python, you have to choose which library you have to do with your career, with your field. Because like no one can learn the whole programming, it is not possible or it is of no use. Like your field is, for example, your field is web and you are learning kinder or turtle. So what is the use of it? So choose that wisely, like which libraries you want to do or which you want to not do. Okay, like which you want to left. So it's your choice, and rest it depends on your field. Then we have the installation process of Python. Okay, so how to install Python, and like yeah, pre-request is like anyone can do Python. So installation process for the sessions we will going to use Python as a software as a okay. So we can write so yes we will use Python 3. Python just 3. Okay, and we will use VS Code as a IDE. Okay. So what is IDE? It is integrated development environment. Means IDE gives you the environment where you can code happily. Yeah. Where like you can code easily. So IDE provides like lots of features and functions. So you can apply this with the code that we will see how to use IDE. So we will use Python 3 VS Code. Like we have many IDEs. You have heard of Python. We have VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code. and which is also known as VS Code that we will use. Okay, we have Atom, we have Sublime, Editor, etc. Like we have many IDs, so you can choose like whichever you want to like do. So basically, VS Code is for the beginners. If you are studying the Python now, so you can just start with the VS Code. And if you are a advanced user, then you can go for PyCharm or Atom. Okay, Sublime is like not good. You can go for Jupyter also. This is especially for the for running the pandas libraries like pandas NumPy for the DS or ML. Okay, so we have many IDs, so you can choose whatever you want. Like what VS Code is like very comfortable. The VS Code interface is very easy to understand, and it is for beginners. So you can go for VS Code. That is Visual Studio Code. Now from here to install Python 3 and VS Code, so open your browser. You can search for Python download. Okay. So go to the python.org, the official website of Python. Let me zoom this. Yeah. Okay, so the official website python.org. Click on this. Okay, click on download. After downloading, you have to install it. So this installation process is also very straightforward. In the installation process, while you are installing the Python, there is an option will pop up will like come that you have to add Python to path. Okay, so you have to tick that option. So note, it is very important. Caution. So you have to tick Python option that is add to path. Okay, it is very important. So don't forget to add your Python to path. Otherwise, it will throw error afterwards. Okay. So after that, the installation process is very straightforward. Now, for the VS Code, you have to go to the website Visual Studio Code. Okay, here you have to search for code.visualstudio.com. Click on this and download for Windows or your Mac or Windows or Linux. Install it. After it is also very straightforward. The installation process is very straightforward. So let me open the VS Code. Acha. Before that, you have to confirm that the Python has been installed in your system or not. So open the CMD, your command in. Okay, here you have to type Python, just Python. Hyphen. So when you see the Python version, so just ensure that the Python has been installed successfully. Okay, so cross this. Now we have to open the VS Code. So this is the interface of the VS Code. It is very easy. Cross this. Now here, click on this extensions. Here you have to search for the extensions. Okay, so here search for run. Okay, so click here, code runner, install this. Okay, and then we have Python. Search for Python. And then click on here, Python Microsoft. Click on here. After that, you have to install it prettier. Yeah, prettier. Okay, install this. After that, you have to install VS Code like this. Okay. Click on this, install this. So you have to install 4 extensions with VS Code. That is, let me mention this: VS Code, Python, VS Code icons, Run, which is code runner, and last prettier. Okay, this will format your whole code. So these are the extensions that you have to install after installing VS Code. And you can install from here. Okay, so cross this. Now restart your VS Code. So like restart this. Okay, cross this. Now let's make a folder here. Right click, new and folder. Okay, let's put here Python. Simple. Or Python session 1 underscore 1. Open drag and open this with VS Code. Okay, cross this. Now here, in the file option, you can do anything like you can add file, you can like create new file, you can create any type of file like any extension file like C file, Java file, JavaScript file, etc. You can open the window. Okay, you can open any file like any pre-existing file, you can open any folder, etc. In the preference option, you have option of color theme. You click on it and choose your color theme, like whatever color you want, you are comfortable with, you can choose it. So I'm comfortable with the dark. So yeah. Okay. Now here, after opening a folder inside VS Code, you have the option of plus. Okay, this is for making file, this is for making folder, this is for refresh. So we have to create a file. So click on here and type here your file name. Let's say file.py. So the extension of Python is .py. That is .py. Like we have many extensions like .txt, .c, .java, .js, etc. So the extension of Python is .py. So you always have to save your file, your Python file with the help of .py. Okay. So this is all about the intro part of Python and the installation process. In this video, I've learned like how to like what is Python. Python is a high level programming. Features of Python, open source. It is open source, easy to use and understand. Why it is easy to use? Because it is a high level language. And what is high level? It is written in English. Like it is close to human language. It is a general purpose programming language because it is like many libraries and frameworks. It is powerful, flexible, and dynamic. Okay, then like why it is flexible? Because you don't need compile it. In the C, you have to code and then compile and then run. But in Python, you just code and run it. That's it. Why it is dynamic? Because you just have to use, you have to tell your browser, like, sorry, tell your C interpreter that what type of value you are storing inside a particular variable. But inside Python, you just name your variable and then assign a value. That's it. After that, Python 2 versus Python 3. So there's some type of syntax differences as well as some libraries and frameworks differences. That's it. Like where you use Python, you can use it everywhere because it is general purpose. Okay, history of Python and violent Python and where is Python used? And the most popular libraries of Python. Okay, in the softwares we are going to use is Python 3 and VS Code. Now with the Python 3, you have to confirm that pip is installed or not. Okay, pip installed or not. So pip is a package manager of Python. Okay, which is used to install. Okay, so which is used to install the libraries and the frameworks. External libraries and frameworks. Okay, so you have to make sure that pip is installed or not. As I said that Python has many libraries and features like frameworks. Some are pre-installed, some are internally installed, or some are you have to install it externally. So for installing that packages or that libraries externally, you need a pip. Pip is a package manager for Python who manages all the packages of the Python. So for ensuring that pip is installed or not, so you have to open your CMD again and you have to type pip hyphen version. It's pip hyphen b. Sorry. This is the pip. This is the version of pip. Okay. So now the installation process is clear. Python has been installed successfully. IDE is VS Code that you are going to use is installed successfully, and the pip manager is installed. Okay, there is not any like external process of installing pip. When you install your Python, it is pre-installed. It will come pre-installed with Python. Okay, so first you have to ensure that if the pip is successfully installed or not. So you have to just type open the CMD and type pip hyphen v. That's it. Okay, there's no any like external installation process or pip. Now, so this is the intro part of Python. Now we will discuss the variables. Then we will move to fundamentals. So basically, what are variables? Variables are the container where you store your value. So variables are the container where you store the values. Suppose A equal 10 or B is equal to 11. So here 10 is a value, equal is an assignment operator, and A is a variable. So we are assigning 10 value to A. Here in the 11, we are assigning 11 value to B. Okay, so these are the values, like values are the container where you store your values. Okay, so now let's see the example. Cross this. Yeah. So here you have to write A equal. Let me zoom this. Yeah. 10. B 11. Print A and print B. Just the basic code. So we have assigned 10 value to A and 11 value to B. And we are printing A and B. So the values will print. And when you click on the run here, click on here. So we have 10 and 11. Okay. So here A is 10, like we are assigning 10 value to A and 11 to B. So print A, print B. Now let's see C. Let's see 88. D is equal to let's say 30. So print C and print B. Run this. Okay, so we have all the values here. So variables are the containers that are storing the values. So 10 is a value and A is a variable. Now, there are some rules of naming the variables. Like you cannot name your variable anything. Suppose here A is a variable and 10. Suppose you want to name your variable something else. Let's say you are naming your variable print is equal to 10. Okay, so here print is a function. Let me write it. So print is a predefined function in Python. Okay, so it is a predefined function in Python which is used to print something or which is used to display something. Now, here print is a predefined function, and your Python interpreter knows that print is my function. No one can use it. So this is your responsibility that you cannot name any function or anything like predefined words as a variable name. Okay, so this will give you an error. When you run this, see, remove this, and when you print is equal to let's say 10. And when you are printing, okay, because print is the only function which is used to print something or display something. So the print here only and print the name of a variable. Click on save and run this. See, this will give an error. Okay, so you have to make sure that you cannot use a word or you cannot use anything as a variable name. This will give you an error. Now, print is a reservoir. So this is known as the reservoir of file. So, so we have the some naming conventions. Okay, so we have naming conventions. Like you cannot name anything to your like variable, and so there are some variable rules that you have to follow, and that is known as the naming conventions. So you can put here variables rules or rules for naming variables. Okay. So what are the rules of naming the variable? The first rule is you cannot use reserved word. So you cannot use reserved word as a variable name. Okay, so you cannot use a reservoir as a variable name. Like reservoirs are like print is a reservoir which have a special meaning to a Python interpreter. So like print, if else, elif, for loop, while loop, these are the reservoirs, like the special words which is also known as keywords. Okay, so they have the special meaning for the Python interpreter. So when you are naming here, print 0 to 10. So Python interpreter gets confused that print is my function and this user is using my function as a variable name. So this will throw an error. So Python will not accept this. Okay, so Python will not tolerate it. So you have to remember that you cannot use Python reserved words as a variable name. Okay, so this is your first rule. Second rule, your variable name should not start with a number. Okay, so your variable name should not start with a number. Like, for example, you cannot put like this, like one number is equal to 10. Print one number. So this will throw an error. Okay, because you cannot start a variable name with a number. But you can use number in middle or the last. You can use numbers in the middle or last. Okay, now third rule, spaces are not allowed. Like you cannot use space in like while naming a variable. Let's say first you are using first space name is equal to let's say John. So first name it is a variable, but there is a space. So this will give you an error. Like when you print it, print first name. For this, see invalid sentence. So spaces are not allowed, but you can use underscore in place of spaces. So we can write, but you can use underscore in place of spaces. If you want to use spaces, then you can use underscore. Underscore is like this one. Okay. So here you can put underscore. And here to one first name. Like when we read. So we have John. Okay. Fourth. Special characters are not allowed. Like special characters are like exclamation mark, at the rate, hash, dollar, percent, this one, etc. Okay, so these are the special characters. You cannot use special character as a variable name. Okay, like for example, suppose you are writing first name. Let's say someone writes user, or let's say first name, like this. So this will throw an error. Like you cannot use special symbols, like special characters inside your username, like inside your sorry variable name. Either not on the like neither on the first character or not like in the middle or at the last. So you cannot use special characters like anywhere in the variable name. So they are highly prohibited. So make sure that you cannot use special characters. So these are some basic rules of naming the variable. Just the basics. Fifth rule, I'm adding it from my side. That is always name the variable according to your value. That your story. Okay, so always name your variable according to your value that you are storing. Suppose you are storing an age, okay, of a user. Let's say you are storing 18. Okay, 18 is a age, and you are storing inside a variable age. And you are naming the same variable a is equal to 18. So what is more comfortable to read? Age or a? What is more comfortable? Basically age, because when you are like coding or someone's come or like someone's come read your code, some of your friend comes and read your code. So age, so like they can easily understand, okay, age is a variable which is definitely storing someone's age. But when you see this a is a variable which is containing some type of value, not like not specifically age. So you have to remember this, that always name the variable according to the value you are storing. Okay, suppose you are storing someone's name. Let's say first name. So John. Okay. So first name is a variable and John is a value. So John is assigned inside first name. So like if someone's come and read your code, okay, first name it is a name. Okay, it is someone's name. But same time you are putting A is equal to John. So this is like how to read. Like no one can understand. Okay, John is a name, but A is like maybe it is not look good. Okay, so you have to make sure that while naming a variable, you have to name a variable according to your value that you are storing. Okay, so these are the basic rules you have to follow while naming your variables. First, you cannot use reserved words as a variable name. Now, what are the reserved words? Let me mention here. Print, if, else, elif, follow, and while, and, or, not. Okay, in, not in, is not, etc. So we have many words. These are words. Okay, so you cannot use it as a variable name, or your variable name should not start with a number, but you can use numbers in the middle or at last. Okay, so and spaces are not allowed. You can use underscore in place of spaces. Places, place of spaces. Then special characters are not allowed. So these are special characters that are not allowed anywhere in the variable name, neither on the first nor on the last. And five, always name your variable according to your value that you are storing. For example, if you're storing anyone's name, then name. If you are storing the last name, then last name. Okay, so it's like it will make your code looks more good. Okay. So you have to make sure, like while naming the variables. So these are the name conventions you have to follow. You have to highly follow, otherwise it's will throw an error. Okay. So these are the rules. So let's see some examples. Valid examples. First, first name. It is a valid variable. John. First name. Space name. This is invalid. This is invalid. So you can put here invalid. This is valid. Then one num 10. But num1 is equal to 10. So this is valid. Let me write it here. Invalid. Then print is equal to, let's say, 10. This is invalid. But you can put print underscore 1. That is valid. Okay, so you have to make sure while naming a variable, invalid or valid. And user, let's say, name. This is invalid. And name is valid. Okay, so remember the points, the naming conventions, the rules for naming the variables. So we have 5 basic rules you have to follow while naming the variables. If you not follow the rules, this will throw an error. Okay, if you run this, see, if you run this will throw an error. Save your code. Okay, syntax error. Because you cannot start your number like variable name with a number. This is also an error, and this is also, and this is two. Okay. So you have to make sure that while naming a variable, and always name a variable according to your value that you are storing. And reserved words are not allowed as a variable name. That is the first point you have to remember. And the reserved words are the keywords, which are like have a special meaning in the Python dictionary. So you have to make sure that. Okay. So I think it is enough for today. So we have completed the intro part of Python, like why Python is useful, why we learn Python, and where we can use Python, why Python is a general purpose, installation process of Python, like how to install Python and VS Code, the IDE, and the variables, what are the variables, and the naming conventions of the variables. Okay. Now, if you want to see the course content of Python that we are going to cover, that so you can go to the website JNtech Networks. We click on the website, the official website. There you can Python. If you want to see the course content, the core modules we are going to cover in the advanced modules. So these are the modules that we are going to cover in the Python sessions in the core and as well as in the advanced. Okay. So here's a fee structure in the upcoming batches. You can see this and the duration of the advanced course and the core Python. And then if you have any queries, like if you have any notes or the inquiry, so you can call on this number. Okay, so both the numbers are available, or you can mail on this number, or you can WhatsApp, or you can fill the inquiry form here. Okay, click on submit. Okay, so if you have any query, like feel free to ask. Okay, so thank you so much. We will now continue in the next session.